Hello, welcome to the fourth chapter of the book of Micah. It begins the last of the days. In this chapter, we'll be going through the nouns that have genitive articles. Here you can see on the first line the tone, imeron. The spellings on the last two letters are the same. The genitive is the declension of the possessive, something that owns something, it's of something. There are some grammars that break it down into other things, but we're just going to make it generally the possessive, and you can look into grammars, and if you want to dig into Greek grammar a little bit deeper and find the different nuances, you're welcome to do that, of course. And it begins here, as we mentioned, yellow is the English derivative words. The nouns are in this purple, and the article is in the blue. And it begins, Ke este ep eschaton ton imeron emphanes to oros kyriou etimon epi tin korifin ton oreon ke meteoristisite iperano ton vunon ke spevsusi pros avto lei. And number one, to eschato, we have the eschatology, it's the study of the end times. And at the last, ton imeron, at the last of the days. Emphanes, that's we go 4 and then 5. The mountain, the oros, orology and study of mountains. The mountain of Kyriou, Kyrieleison, the Lord, will be will be apparent, emphanes. The last of the days, we see this in many places. We'll go in a little bit later where it even boils it down into another time that's even more exact than the last of the days. But so this prophecy of Micah now is going out into the future anyway, of from his time and until the last of the days. It's a deep subject there to try to figure out what it's talking about, the last of the days. In these last days, even with Jesus was referred to in somewhat in that terminology, and then the book of Revelations, and it goes on after the 1,000 years, and so these last days. What? The mountain of the Lord, the Oros, the mountain of the Lord. What is the mountain of the Lord? I looked into the comprehensive, the lexical concordance, and there are places where it has the holy mountain, the mountain of the high house, and the high mountain. But there's only a few places that I could find that it had the mountain of the Lord, where it says the mountain of the Lord. The first place is in Isaiah 2, verses 2 and 3, and it says, "For it will be in the last days," here we see it again, "the mountain of the Lord will be apparent, and the house of God will be upon the uppermost part of the mountain." Here in Micah, shall rise up above the hills, readied upon the tops of the mountains. "And it shall be raised up high above the hills, and all the nations shall come unto it." And in verse 2, we'll go down there and we'll see a similarity. In verse 3 of Isaiah, "And many nations shall go and shall say, Come, for we should ascend unto the mountain of the Lord, and unto the house of the God of Jacob. And he will announce to us his way, and we shall go in it. For from out of Zion shall come forth law, and the word of the Lord from out of Jerusalem." And then the next place it mentions mountain of the Lord is Isaiah 30:29, and it has, "Must you always be glad and enter into my holy places always, as the one solemnizing a holiday, and as one's being glad to enter with a pipe into the mountain of the Lord, to the God of Israel. So that was another place that talks about the mountain of the Lord. And then in Zechariah 8:3, it says, "Thus says the Lord, I will return unto Zion, and I will encamp in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem will be called the true city, and the mountain of the Lord Almighty, the holy mountain." And so it's interesting that he says he will return. Well, when was he there? We know in the person of Jesus the Messiah, he was there. So this may be a time in the future of the Messiah that is referring to even in Micah. And then in Zechariah 14:4 and 5, it says, "And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, the one over against Jerusalem, according to the east. And the Mount of Olives shall split, half of it towards the east and west, an exceedingly great house. And half of the mountain shall lean towards the north, and half of it towards the south." So there's going to be this upheaval in Jerusalem where apparently the Jerusalem will be physically raised up high, from what I can gather. Some people may want to look at this as a spiritual allegory. I don't take the words as allegories unless it's obvious that they are, and I take them at their face value, literal, unless it is, like I said, obviously an allegory. And if it's not, then I don't generally make it into an allegory. I think you'll find that out in most of these seminars. I stay pretty much to the literal side. And then it continues in verse 2. Ke porevson te ethni pola, ke erusi, thevte anavomen is to oros kiriou, ke is ton ikon tu theu Yaakov, ke vixosin imin tin odon aftu, ke porevsometha intes trivis aftu, oti ek sion exolevsete nomos ke logos Kyriou ex Jerusalem. And many nations, pola, poly, is English derivative, and the ethnos, ethnic. Many nations shall say, "Come, we should ascend unto the mountain of the Lord, and unto the house," the ecology of God, theology is the English derivative. And you can see it's in the genitive, the house of the God of Jacob. And so instead of wanting to destroy Israel, like so many nations seem like they want to do today as I'm doing this seminar, there's going to come a time when they're going to, people from all these places are going to say, "Come, let's go into the house of the Lord." It could possibly be talking about the time of Jesus and then the saints of the church in that period of time also. And that they want to go into the house of the God of Jacob, the acceptance of the Gentiles of the God of Jacob. And it continues, "And they shall show to us actually, his way." Odon, odometer, English derivative, the odo. "And we shall go by his trevis," his roads. It's not paths, but actually a trevis is a road. Odos is a way. We had that up here, the odon, and his roads. The way is what they called the early Christians, the way. Then they call them Christians after that. So they shall show us his way. Could be talking about the Christians and the way. And then it continues, "For eccentric, from the center, ek is a prefix in English, from out of Zion shall go forth nomos," I added the, "shall go forth law," or the law. And and logos, the word of the Lord from out of Jerusalem. Nomos, astronomy, the nomi is the law, and the word of the Lord from out of Jerusalem. And it was going out of Jerusalem at that time, so he's actually writing it. Micah is. So what is he talking about? This period of time at the end, it's going to be that Zion and Jerusalem, something's going to happen. It's not going to be desolate like it has been for 2,000 years, but there's going to be some action in Jerusalem. It's going to be pushed up high. And then it continues in verse 3. Ke krini anameson leon polon, ke exalexi ethni iskira, eos makran, ke katakopsusi tas rompheas afton is arotra, ke ta dhorata afton is drepana, ke uketi mi antari, ethnos epethnos, Romphean, ke uketi mi mathosi polemin. And he shall judge between many peoples, leon, the laity, and shall completely refute strong nations, ethni. So God is going to be in, or this person possibly is coming and will judge and refute strong nations from afar and be in control of the situation. And they shall cut their broadswords into plows and their spears into sickles. And so this is going to be a time of war is going to be, and the strong nations are going to be held in check. And they will no longer be using all the armaments that they're making. And no longer should ethnos, a nation, to Antari, raise up through a broadsword against a nation. And no longer should they learn to wage war, polemin, polemics, arguing over words, and so this war. They're not going to learn how to wage war. This could possibly be the period of time that's called the 1,000 years in the book of Revelation. And that when we go into Revelations, we'll read about that, where this period of time of more or less forced peace by God, and then in Ezekiel, the last 10 chapters, you can read that, and it talks about this period of time where the prince is in Jerusalem. That may be what it's talking about here, and the prince has control, and people are controlled as far as being allowed to be violent, until it mentions after the 1,000 years that Satan will be released, and then they have another war with Gog and Magog, which is very important, because when we get to that period of time with Gog and Magog, we'll see it appears more than once, and so to try to set down which time it's talking about sometimes is a little on the difficult side. Verse 4 continues, Ke anapavsate ekastos ipokato ampelu avtu. Ke ekastos ipokato sikis avtu. Ke ukeste o ekfovon dioti to stoma kiriou pantokratoros elalasi tavta. And each shall rest underneath his grapevine, and each underneath his fig tree. It's going to be a time that people rest and not have, it says, and there will not be one frightening them. Because, why? The stoma, the mouth, stoma, stomach, stomatic has to do with the mouth. For because the mouth, kiriou, pantokratoros, that's a word that has two, panto is all, krat, we have a democrat, the power of the people. Pantokratoros, Almighty, spoke these things. The mouth of the Lord Almighty spoke these things. So does he actually come down and speaking? Is this what it's talking about, God standing in front of them? Or is it through prophets? We'll read more here in verse 5. Oti pantas ilei porevsonte ekastos tin odon avtu. Imis they porevsomatha in onomati kiriou theu imon is ton iona ke epekina. For all, Pontus, pandemic, it's all-encompassing. The pan is all. For all the peoples, lei, shall go each in his own way, odon. So there'll be people that are going their own ways, it talks about here, but it says, but we shall go in the name of the Lord our God into the eon and beyond. Well, this is very interesting, I think, because it talks about we, and we know in the New Testament that the we are the believers in the Christ, the Messiah, Jesus. And we will be into the eon, it says, and beyond. A lot of Aeonialists write me, and they don't like the word everlasting because it doesn't mean that it goes on forever. And there's these ideas because of the word eonial is used for ages. So these ages have appeared throughout history, different eons. So the idea that using that same word to go into forever is pushing it. That's what they say. And I can understand the argument. They wanted me to use the word aeonial instead of everlasting. Eternal I use because eternal is actually a Latin word for eon. So I'm safe with that one. But I think I did use everlasting. But here it says and beyond. So into the eon and beyond. So even if you don't like the word aeonial for forever, there is that and beyond. Is there an ending to it? Well, beyond doesn't say anything about an end. It just says beyond. So if somebody tells me to go yonder or beyond the house, well, how far should you go? Well, it's up to you to tell how far beyond is. And so we, in the name of the Lord our God, into the eon. And in 4:6 it starts, en te imera ekini legi kyrios, synaxo tin syntetrimenin, ke tin aposmenin, is dexome, ke us aposamen, ke and aposamin. In that day, in imera, in is a direct transliteration into the English. Imera, ephemeral, says legi, the leg, says the Lord. I will gather together. Actually, it should be the. It could be the one being broken. It's in the feminine, so I put her. It's not really her. T would be her. I will gather together. The one being broken might be better. I could change that in the future. And the one being thrust away. I will take in even whom I thrusted away. And well, God, it could be talking about the remnant and these people that were thrust away by God, and for thousands of years they were dispersed throughout the nations. And this might be what he's talking about here, is that I will take in whom I thrusted away. God thrusted them away. It wasn't their choice. God took the initiative and thrusted them away. And why did God thrust them away? You can go back into Genesis and Moses, and he has the blessings and the curses. And the curses are being thrust away from him. And Messiah coming and being dealt the blow and crucified certainly didn't help their relationship with their God. And some people, I don't want to blame what's happened to the Jews today because of this curse of the people saying the blood be upon us and our children. And that was said, and it's been recorded. But whether or not to push that, how far you want to push that, and to say, well, that God brought Hitler and the Nazis to kill the Jews so they could have Israel. You can look at that as the result, but whether or not, I don't believe that God had that. I don't know if God had that in plan or not, if that was being thrust away, and so he thrust them away, but then he's going to take them in this period now, that 1948, when Israel became a nation again, and it continues in 7. Ke thisometin sintetrimenin is ipolima, ketin aposmenin is ethnos iskiron, ke vasilevsi kyrios, ep avtus in orision, apotunin ke eos tu ionos. And I will make her being broken into a vestige, and her being thrust away into a mighty nation. Well, we know that Israel is a nation. It's fairly mighty for its size today, and this is, we're in 2009. And the Lord will reign, Vasilevsi, the basilica, the place of a king, the basil, Vasilev, king. Kyrios, the Lord shall reign over them in Mount Zion, Ori. Apo, from, apos, the apocentric, apogee, from the earth. Apo is a prefix for from in English. From the present to nin. Now, and into the eon. You see the to nin here? That's interesting because there's a two is a this like this the two following, but it's an article 3588, and so is this. But the nin is not a noun. The nin is here in this place. It's an adverb. So the articles can modify adverbs as well as nouns and adjectives and other parts of speech. So now into the eon, ionos, again the eon. In 4:8, KC, Pyrgos, Pimniu, Hav Chmodis, Thigatir, Sion, Epise, Ixi, Ke Isolevsete, I Archi, I Proti, Vasilea, Ek Vavilonos, Ti Thigatri, Jerusalem. And you, O tower of the flock, austere daughter, Thigatir, the daughter, the whenever you see a theta, the thetas and the delta are very similar in pronunciation in the English. It went into daughter. The spelling is the AU and the UG. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's there. Austere daughter of Zion, upon, epi, upon you shall come, epidermis, the skin above. There's a derivative. You shall come and shall enter in the head, the archaeology, the head of the foremost, the proti. We have a proto is foremost or first. The foremost kingdom, Vasilea, from Babylon, of Babylon, to the daughter of Jerusalem. So this ruler, this daughter of Babylon, here he's actually lifting up Jerusalem, as we'll see, and the attack that's coming against the daughter of Babylon. He uses that in many places as sort of like the strength of Babylon, of Jerusalem, or the strength of the Israel people, using as terms the daughter of Jerusalem. I think I said daughter of Babylon. I meant daughter of Jerusalem. Sorry. And when he was cursing them, and they came in and stripped the daughter of Jerusalem, and she went naked into captivity. So this is a sort of a word or a Hebrewism of a situation of how God talks about Jerusalem in the taking the personification of the daughter. Verse 9, Kenin inati egnos kaka mi vasilefs uk in nc ii vuli su apolito oti katakratisan su odhinis, os tiktusis. And now, why did you know bad things? Well, they did know bad things. Kakas, bad things. Was it one was not a king in you? Or has your counsel perished? Well, yeah, all these things, they were in bad shape. They lost, people left, and they haven't here when Micah's writing this, but actually Israel was taken away. And some of the, like we mentioned earlier, the people from Judah were taken up north. So not exactly sure if he's talking about way out. I still think he's talking about the future, and this is a prophetic utterance of that period of in the far future. But it's up to speculation, I suppose. For your pangs hold firm as one giving birth. And then for 10, it continues. Odhine ke andrizu thigatir sion, os e tiktusa. Diotinin exalevsi ek polios ke kataskinosis en pedio ke ixi eos vavilonos. Ekethan risate se, ke ekethan litrosate se, kyrios o theosu, apo hieros ton ekthron su. Travail and take courage. Andrizu is an android, the man. Take courage, be manly, more or less. O daughter of Zion, as the one giving birth. So you're going to go through this terrible time. It could be today. And Israel is fighting with the Gaza Palestinians, and who knows what's going to happen soon. This may be what it's talking about. From now you shall come forth from the city, and shall encamp in the plain, and shall come unto Babylon. And so somehow these people are going to be leaving. It's hard to say. And they'll come into Babylon, which, as we know, is over in Iraq. So talking about a war, it's people being taken. It's not real clear here. From there he shall rescue you, and from there he shall ransom you. Who? Well, the Lord, your God, from the hand of your enemies. So from there he shall rescue you, and from there he shall ransom you. And Jesus came and ransomed Israel and ransoms us, the Gentiles. And is that what he was talking about? The time of Christ coming, or is it a time of in the future of that, like today? 4:11 it continues. Ke nin episinithisan epi se ethni pola legontes epi harumatha ke epopsonte epi zion e ophthalmi imon. And now, 1, many, 2, nations, 3, were assembled 4 against you, saying, we shall rejoice and scrutinize over Zion with our ophthalmi, eyes. Let's go back up here to first to ekthron, ton ekthron, your enemies. Ton is the genitive plural of the article, of your enemies, or the enemies of you, I could have put it. And then down here, so we shall rejoice and scrutinize over Zion with our eyes, the ophthalmi, the ophthalmologist, an eye doctor. Many nations are assembled here against Zion. Well, after this period of time, Babylon took them, so they weren't really assembling. And this kind of the words that it's all these many nations sounds like it's something that has never happened. So many nations coming and assembling against Zion. And they're saying, well, we will rejoice and scrutinize over Zion with our eyes. We see right now the current leader in Iran is more or less predicting this type of enjoyment of getting rid of Israel. And so, will nations be coming real soon? You may hear this later in years come and hear me talking about it and see what's the glorious thing that God has done. But at this period of time, it's not. A lot of things are happening with Israel, and it's a small country, and they're making atomic weapons to use against it. They more or less said they will. So then verse 12, it continues. Avti the uk egnosentus logismus kiriu, ke sinikan tin vulin avtu, oti siniga gen avtus os voragmata alonos. But they knew not the devices, the logismos, of logistics. They did not know the devices of Kiriu, of the Lord. And they perceived not his counsel. For he gathered them as sheaves for the threshing floor. Another place it talks, I think it's in Ezekiel, that God is dragging them. He's putting the hook in their mouth like a fish that's caught on a line. And so we look at these things that are lining up, different leaders, rulers of nations that have their plans and their devices. And we see, but they knew not the devices of the Lord and perceived not his counsel, for he gathered them. They think that they're doing, the man is in control, the nations are in control, but no, God has another plan. The Lord has another plan. The synagogue, the synagogue, is a gathering of people. He gathered them as sheaves for the threshing floor, as they're going to be cut down, mowed down as grass. 4:13, anastathi ke aloa aftus thigatir Sion, oti takeratasu thisome sidira, ketas oplasu thisome halkas. Rise up and thresh them, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horns iron, and your hooves I will make brass, halkas, the Chalcolithic from halkas, the Bronze Age. That's where this word comes from. And I will dissolve katatixis, leus polus, many peoples, dissolve many peoples. Ke anathesis to kyrio to plethos afton, ketin iskin afton, to kyrio passis tis yis. And you shall present to the Lord their abundance. So Israel is going to take all this wealth of these nations, present it to the God, the plethos, plethora, is English derivative, even their strength to the Lord of all. Tis geese, of this is the genitive, tis geese, and geese being geology, the study of the earth, even their strength to the Lord of all the earth. So this prediction, forecast, prophecy of Micah gets interesting, and verse 5 will continue with it, and we hope you enjoyed this chapter. We also hope that you'll join us again in chapter 5. God bless.